Hello everyone, I am Felix from In Africa. In Africa is an African Youth Initiative for Sustainable Development, Self-Reliance and Its Dignity. On behalf of concerned citizens and youth voices across the continent, particularly the members of In Africa, I have the honor to read this letter addressed to the Secretary General of the African Union requesting the review and removal of the Day of the African Child from official African Union calendar on 26 May 2025. Copied to the African Union Youth Envoy, Secretary General of South African Development Community SADC, the Secretary General of East African Community EAC, the Secretary General of l'Alliance d'États du Sahel AES, the Secretary General of Economic Community of West African States ECOWAS, Secretary General of Intergovernmental Authority on Development IGAD, Secretary General of Economic Community of Central African State ECECAS, and the Secretary General of Arab Maghreb Union, requesting the removal of so-called African Child Day. Dear Sir, June 16, 1976 marks one of the most painful and defining moments in African history. On that day, during a peaceful student protest against the forced imposition of Afrikaners in black schools, 13-year-old Hector Peterson was shot and killed by apartheid police in Soweto. He was not alone. Hundreds of children and youth were gunned down, hunted like they are criminals in their own land, unarmed, defenseless, yet unwavering in their demand for justice and dignity. This day must never be forgotten. It should stand as a continental day of mourning, a day to honor the brave and sacrifice of the youth who resisted the racist apartheid regime in South Africa. It's quite frankly the betrayal of their memory to reduce this day to a shallow celebration of being born African under a label imposed by post-colonial institutions. For decades, Africa has been deliberately held back by the machinations of petty colonial architects and their loyal beneficiaries. The same global forces that destabilizes our governments, assassinated our leaders, and now use international media and superficial charity narratives to portray the African child as either a victim or a hopeless case. They distract us with tokenistic observance stripped of political meaning, while ignoring blood-soaked history that fogged the modern African consciousness. Instead of empowering us to reclaim our voice and rewrite our narrative, they trap us in a circle of pity, shame, and dependence. They teach us to fear unity, to fear pride, to fear our Africanness. We are taught to destroy ourselves, one another, so much so that even cooperation across African borders feels unnatural. And through this fragmentation, they convince us that the chaos around us is our fault, or our ignorance, or our burden to bear. It is on this false moral ground that we are forced to accept a day like Day of the African Child, as though we should celebrate this born into a system still shaped by exploitation and inequality. As though we should forget what June 16th really meant. We therefore call for the complete removal of the African Child from the African Union calendar and all national programs. Our reason deeply rooted in our struggle for decolonization and self-definition. That is, number one, we already have International Children's Day recognized globally, with actual programming for child rights. There is no need for a duplicate day that lacks seriousness, strategy, or substance. Two, Africa is not a charity case. No other continent hosts a special Child Day. based on pity and perceived exceptionality. Why then does the African child require a day set aside to be viewed through lenses of helplessness? Number 3. June 16 is a day of trauma and resistance. It is not a date of parades or symbolical speeches. It must be reclaimed as a day of mourning, respect, and recognition of the value of youth of Soweto, and for every African child denied dignity by systems of oppression. The term African child has become reductive and discriminatory. It generalizes and flattens the experience of hundreds of millions into a stereotype. What if an Asian child once asked, "Who are these African children you celebrate every year?" What indeed is the answer can he or she be given? This is not a celebration, it is authoring. Number 5, it weaponizes memory against us. Rather than inspire hope and vision, it reminds us yearly of our wounds without healing. It becomes a tool to manipulate our spirit, not to empower it. Number 6, in many African societies, we remain children in the eyes of our elders until death. So who is this child we are being celebrated? Is it our infants, our youth, or all of us born on this continent? The confusion only serves to further dilute the meaning of the day. We ask that June 16th be officially named and recognized for the Day of Remembrance and paying tribute to the youth of Soweto. A day for public mourning, national reflection, a day to demand justice, accountability from our own governments regarding youth education, protection, and empowerment. A day of continental solidarity, where we reject foreign narratives and affirm our dignity. We don't reject the legacy of our children, we reject the political packaging of that legacy into day that denies them the revolutionary place in history. We call upon parents, especially the elite and private families shaping the destiny of African nations, to abandon the blind pursuit of wealth and prestige. It is time to return home to our families and communities and educate our children in African cultural values, dignity, and collective responsibility. Our true wealth lies not in foreign models, but in wisdom and values passed down from our ancestors. If we fail to ground our development in this heritage, we are not building Africa, we are dismantling it in our own hands. We call on activists, educators, policymakers, and freedom-loving Africans everywhere to join this call. Let us not allow blood of Hector Peterson, his comrades, and our African culture to be sanitized by bureaucracy. Let us not allow foreign dedicated celebration to erase our grief and our power and our truth. Let us reclaim June 16th with urgency and resolve. We thank the African Union for considering this appeal and trust that leadership will act in alignment with the evolving needs, values, and realities of African youth today. Thank you so much.